This is Raymond Michael Weber, posturing on Instagram Live. Two bodies lay at his feet, one of which is that of a 15-year-old girl. What we're witnessing here is the genesis of a standoff, and it took place on the night of January 29th, 2021. It started with a promise.
Man, the cops gonna blaze it.
But before we tell you how it ended, let's figure out how we got here. Weber is a few things: a resident of Sacramento, California, a failed rap artist, and what's often referred to as a boyfriend pimp. Now the title doesn't leave much to the imagination, they're precisely what you'd expect: men who lure women into sex work via what those women believe to be a legitimate romantic relationship. This manipulative scam is something Weber is particularly proud of.
Bro, you a bum, you hear me? You do all the shit talking, but when the truth come out, it hurts your little achy breaky feelings. I'm sorry that it hurts your feelings every time it comes out. I'm so much of a simp, bitch. My bitches bring a band a day. You said what? I got 10 grand in my mouth. I got a different pair of Ethica draws for the year. What is you talking about? I'll leave them at houses. You talking about? Bum.
Effectively, Raymond here is a violent leech, content to utilize physical and mental abuse in the pursuit of profit. Unfortunately, this is where 26-year-old Savannah comes in. Savannah was a mother to a 4-year-old son, and one of many women who fell prey to Weber's deceit. Ultimately, she would actually lose her life at his hands, but not before having that life upended by his self-absorbed whims. In her mother's words, she was, quote, a good girl, and this was somebody that manipulated her and took advantage of her. She was not a drug addict. Her choice to point this out wasn't without cause. Often pimps will feed a drug habit as a method of control, but this doesn't appear to have been the case for Savannah. Rather, she looks to have been enamored with her abuser, as evidenced by a call she made to her mum a week prior to the harrowing livestream. Though she'd recently gotten a job at FedEx in Utah, she'd suddenly decided to go to California and marry Raymond. In the days prior to her death, Savannah's movements were traced to California, specifically the Oxford Suites Hotel in Roanoke Park. Her bank records confirm that she'd booked a room there. On January 23rd, 2021, Weber was caught on camera in the same hotel. The killer wasn't alone, but he wasn't with Savannah either. He was accompanied by a minor, who hasn't been named due to her age. Savannah's presence was also confirmed via surveillance footage, having been spotted outside the room the trio was staying in. But why would there be an underage girl staying with her and the man she intended to wed? The answer is really unpleasant. Unfortunately, she was another victim of Weber's. Savannah was not only aware of this, but was actively working alongside the teenager for her fiance's benefit. This practice whereby an experienced sex worker is paired with a younger victim is a common one. It could be argued then that while Savannah was clearly wronged, she was also complicit in and helped to facilitate the abuse of a minor. Both she and the 15-year-old were nothing but products in their pimp's eyes. Weber demonstrated his shamelessness in that regard, having posted online ads which priced the teen at $420 per hour, and taking a video of himself making sexual contact with her, imagery which is illegal in its own right. Even when he did make a point to deny his involvement with the child, it was deeply unconvincing.
Who's the minor? You sound hella stupid, bro. You just saying anything now.
Quite what Weber's plan was at this stage, we don't really know. What we do know is that on January 29th, after a few days at the hotel and a short stay at a Super 8 motel, all three made their way to 582 Rocky Hill Road in California. It was from an apartment in this complex that the ghoulish stream would air. This time, Weber wasn't intruding on a woman he was profiting from. Instead, he decided to make himself at home with a few family members. It was his 17-year-old cousin, Michaela, who was doing her homework when she was interrupted by a knock at the door. Michaela let Weber inside the apartment that she, her siblings, and her mother shared, then returned to her schoolwork. It wasn't until later, when she left her room again, that she found out Raymond had brought two strangers into her home. One an adult and the other a girl she described as looking pretty young. According to Michaela, the unannounced guests were bandaged and had obvious bruises. While her cousin's life revolved around violence towards women, she and her family weren't accustomed to the sight of injured girls. The exact order of the events that followed isn't clear, but through the course of the day, the following occurred. First, the pimp's mother, angered by the situation, had tried to get Weber to leave, but he'd refused. Secondly, according to Michaela herself, Weber sexually assaulted the minor hours before going live, which likely means the assault took place in the apartment while she was still present. Finally, in a sudden fit of rage, Weber had become violent with Michaela. He choked her and accused her of giving the underage girl a cell phone, and we can confirm that the minor did have a cell phone because the police tracked its location to the aforementioned hotel. But this happened prior to her ever meeting Michaela. With the attempts to get Raymond to leave having failed and the situation deteriorating, the family chose to vacate the apartment. With no one else around, things seemed to have spiraled further out of control, and as they did, law enforcement seemingly missed an opportunity to change the course of events. At 11:45, Vacaville police, Dustin Willis, arrived at the complex having responded to what he believed was a domestic violence call. The lieutenant heard yelling, but wasn't sure where it was coming from. As fellow officers arrived on the scene, Willis heard 6 to 8 audible pops, very crisp pops.
I was certain I heard gunshots, but I was unsure where they were coming from.
Body cam footage that later came to light showed him knocking on doors and trying to ascertain the source of the noise. 8 minutes of body cam footage would later show the fruitless search, after which the police left the scene. This wasn't the only glaring oversight that could have saved lives. 6 months earlier, the cops let Weber slip away under baffling circumstances. He shot at me in the front seat and it went between my legs and it hit the floorboard. He'd already beaten me really bad with the gun. A victim currently taking action against the Sacramento PD told the press. She claims to have leapt out of the car she and Weber were sitting in, ran barefoot through the park to escape him, and then contacted law enforcement. I told them what had happened. They just thought I was hallucinating on drugs, so they didn't believe me. I said, there's his car right there. He had my cell phone. He had my car keys, my house keys. All they did was look at the car and say, there's no bullet hole in that car. I said, why don't you stop and question him? He's right there. This allegedly occurred while the victim was visibly bloodied and beaten in a situation where Weber had wandered into view while said to be in possession of her personal belongings and a loaded firearm. The Sacramento police have so far declined to comment on her claims due to an ongoing investigation of the incident. If true, the cops appeared to have let a dangerous man walk away from a situation where proving his guilt would have been trivial. Lieutenant Williams had correctly identified the sound of gunfire on the night of the 29th, but this time Weber hadn't missed. The first to know would be his Instagram followers.
It's the last time you're finna see me on Instagram, nigga.
He offered a justification for his crimes, a conspiracy against him. Then he displayed the results in gratuitous detail.
Gotta set me up. Ozzy Marcus and Shuddy P trying to have me killed, dog. Ozzy Marcus wanna have me killed. Trying to send this to me.
Thanks to a call from a viewer, the livestream led cops to Weber. Upon arrival, they still had a long night ahead of them.
They got this around it. Hey, Marcus and Shady P trying to set me up.
Throughout the broadcast, he maintained the tone of finality that he'd opened with, even going so far as to hop on a call to make a certain someone aware of their impending doom.
I don't give a f. I can't go back to jail. Seen set it off. It's over.
What you do? Bro, be cool.
It's over.
It's over.
Over.
Bro, what happened?
I found out Ozzy and Twan trying to send me.
We can't stress enough how badly he wants you to know this. With a SWAT team and negotiators outside the door, all the pieces were in place for his Scarface-style last stand. Negotiations had failed, neighbors were evacuated, and armed officers were prepared to breach at 8:32 AM. SWAT broke through the door, deployed flashbangs and CS gas, and made their entrance. Inside, they found 2 dead bodies and 1 pimp attempted to hide. After what's been described as a brief struggle, followed by the deployment of a taser, Weber was in custody. So was there any truth to Weber's paranoid claims? Probably not. One alleged conspirator he repeatedly referred to was Marcus Weber, better known as Uzi Marcus. While collaborating with his brother failed to make Raymond aka Zeno seem remotely listenable, Marcus actually has had some success in music. Quite what his motive would be for wanting Raymond dead, and why he'd recruit a teenage girl and the target's own fiancée to do the deed, we have no idea. In an interview on the No Jumper channel, Uzi wasn't sure either, but presumed mental health issues were a factor.
I thought that shit was fake or something.
Well, especially because your name was in it. So,
yeah, no. After that, I was just like, man, this mental issues. People got mental issues.
Right.
That's when it took way much more sense to look at why he said that. You feel me? Like, why he said that? You feel me? And then they'd be like, okay, you dealing with something in your head.
Marcus is arguably as much of a criminal as Raymond, and was actually in prison when the stream occurred. The stream has done a lot to bury the rapper's offences in the public eye, and they've overshadowed the story of a third sibling, the seldom mentioned Antoine Weber. In 2006, at the age of 16, Anton was arrested and eventually convicted for the murder of Raymond Weber's then-girlfriend, Nicole Jurata, a murder Raymond Weber is believed to have been present for. The whole family seems to be awash with criminality and internal drama. Interestingly, the drama may not have been as it seemed in the Nicole case. In a rambling livestream primarily focused on demeaning his own sister, the target of his ire made some startling accusations. Here, Weber's sister is commenting under the username Diva Nicole.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, though, for sure. Back in the day, you hear me? My sister begged me for the money. You hear me? She begged me for the money. You hear me? Because her, you know, her prostitution was so bad. No, listen here. Look, this is funny shit. Look, Her son, that pussy was so bad. She calls me like, bro, please get me away from your sister, bro. She's trying to make me pay her, nigga. Come on, da 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 da. Wooty wooty whoop. You hear me? Guess what? The bitch ain't make no money out there. You hear me? Hey, don't worry, bro. Bro, I was sleeping on the couch. I had to stay over at your house, bro, because y'all was scared of Priscilla. You don't remember? You were sitting right there. I'm gonna have my baby daddy do something to y'all.
Raymond Michael Weber is currently housed in Staten Correctional Facility, charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder among other offences. His legal proceedings are ongoing. Uzi Marcus is serving almost 6 years, having pleaded guilty to illegal possession of a firearm. Anton Weber is incarcerated in the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. The validity of their sister's claims remains uncertain. It's only in our unnatural dystopian world where these sorts of things seem to happen. You see, where mass production is the norm, finding unique, truly natural and authentic items feels almost impossible to find. We're surrounded by the same brands, styles, the same gadgets, and the same impersonal society that leaves us craving something real. And it's this quest for authenticity and uniqueness that defines our choices, our styles, and even the gifts we choose for those we hold dear. Which is why I want to tell you about Holzkern. Rooted in the scenic landscapes of Austria, Holzkern crafts not just accessories but pieces of nature molded into beautiful one-of-a-kind treasures. Their commitment to using natural materials means that when you carry one of their items, it feels authentic and real, not just something made in a soulless factory. I mean, imagine wearing a watch that's more than just a timekeeper but a piece of the forest itself. And with over 1,000 different products to choose from for both men and women, they also provide free express shipping worldwide, with most products arriving in 2 to 5 business days. And with their dedication to sustainability, evidenced by the fact that all of the wooden material they use are FSC certified materials, it makes choosing Holzkern a statement. And with Mother's Day on the horizon, what better way to celebrate than with a gift from Holzkern? It's a present that will stand out from the rest of all the corporate junk on the shelves. Holzkern's items are pieces of art that stand out from the rest of the same generic presents you'll see on the shelves. Use my link in the description or scan the QR code for a special discount for a great gift this Mother's Day. And if you use my discount code MOONCRIME, you'll save 15% off of your purchase. So order by May 7th to guarantee your present arrives in time from Vienna to her hands. While Raymond Weber's online presence left little mystery about his character, that's a relative rarity. Typically, people carefully create their online personas so as to present an idealized version of themselves. Sometimes their efforts mask the truth and act as a smokescreen for an injustice in the making. This is the story of TikTok's most shameless mother, Nicola Priest, and the tragic death of her daughter, Kaylee Jade. Priest, who typically goes by the name Nikki, is a woman who's been described as social media and selfie obsessed, but remains of her post suggest there's no reason to doubt that. Driven by her desire for attention, she's proved herself beyond willing to use her children as props in her uploads and occasional self-indulgent streams. Having been born appears to be optional. This footage, taken on August 8th, 2020 in and around the King's Head house flats in Birmingham, UK, is the last time Kaylee Jade Priest was seen alive. The following morning at 11:17 AM, an ambulance crew responding to a call from her mother would find the child's body. But what happened after they were captured would make Priest infamous. In the weeks following the loss of a child, it's reasonable to expect a parent to grieve. Grief comes in many forms, and there are countless ways people process it, but few would do so by dancing on TikTok. Even in death, Kaylee remained a tool to be used in Priest's pursuit of social media relevance. While certainly in poor taste, it was effective, just not in the manner she'd hoped. Following Kaylee's untimely passing, there was of course an investigation. Emergency responders had been told that the child was ill the night before their arrival. She'd vomited several times prior to being put to bed and was found unresponsive that following morning. When experts cast an eye on the evidence, it instantly became clear that her mother was hiding something. The internal damage uncovered was likened to that of the child having been hit by a car 40 miles per hour or fallen several stories onto concrete. The injuries were so severe that there was no doubt they were the result of a sustained attack. Partially healed fractures found in Kaylee's ribs and jaw proved that this wasn't a one-off assault. Signs of Kaylee's plight had been evident for some time. Soon after Priest had moved into her Birmingham flat, neighbors noticed several worrying trends. They claimed to have witnessed Kaylee Jade being struck by her mum, and later noticed the resulting bruises. They'd also report frequent verbal abuse and loud music they believed was drowning out other incriminating noise. On at least one action, they recorded one of Nikki's verbal onslaughts. The authorities never investigated. I'll just say she fell off of the bed, a tenant in the flat below heard Priest say. Following a loud thud, Kaylee could be heard crying in the background, and as the statement implies, Priest was not alone and her accomplice was like-minded. Meet Callum Redfern, Nikki's apathetic boyfriend. By all accounts, she was quite attached to him, while he wasn't too interested in her outside of the bedroom. Redfern is known to have a violent temper, allegedly stamping all over his ex's car in a fit of rage, and having made threats to smash his friend's face in. His petulant anger along with Priest's neglectful, abusive nature made for a dangerous combination. Quote, "I'm gonna kill her, because she keeps leaving the living room or going in the kitchen, so I've paled her one and smacked her for shitting in her nappy," Priest said in a text to Redfern on July 24, 2020. "Good. Give her one for me," Redfern replied. "I will, babe," his girlfriend assured him. Similar exchanges weren't uncommon. The two seemed united in their unwarranted hatred of a little girl. They wouldn't remain united for long, however, because while Nicole Priest was faking anguish for followers, the walls were closing in. When the presence of a crime was clear, law enforcement took action and the story soon reached the public. Their outrage was palpable. People latched onto the social media element in particular, shocked as they were by the combination of cruelty and vanity. They felt the footage of Kaylee's final days spoke volumes. In police interviews, Redfern said little, and Priest initially told officers that her boyfriend had given Kaylee a little tap. She later changed her mind, saying he'd hit her really hard on the bum. This set a precedent that the trial went on to follow. Throughout, Redfern barely participated, and Priest's story changed like the winds. Each claimed the other was responsible for the death of Kaylee Jade. It was during the trial that a third perspective came to light, that of a former friend of Redfern's, Matthew Alport. Alport had been present that night, as he and Redfern had plans. Something all parties agreed upon is that Kaylee was put to bed by Redfern at around 7 PM, and that Redfern stayed in Kaylee's room for around 10 minutes while Nicole Priest was on the balcony smoking weed. Shortly after, the couple went into Nikki's room. Beyond this point, elements of the story were prone to changing. Matthew Alport stayed in the living room while Kaylee was, in his words, whinging, as though she wanted to play around and not be in bed. Priest denied this, stating that Kaylee was in the living room playing with her toys. In either case, the child was ignored. The reason she was ignored is considered another affront to decency. Though initially denied but later admitted by Priest, the couple had gone to have sex. A short time later, Redfern went back to Kaylee's room and shouted for his partner, telling her Kaylee was being sick. Nikki changed the girl's bedding, all while Alport believes Callum Redfern was running a bath. The cleanup took around 20 minutes, after which Redfern was heard angrily yelling Kaylee's name because she'd vomited again. Priest went to him and later gave increasingly violent recollections of what had happened. Initially, it was a tap by Redfern, then it was a smack, before she decided that she distinctly heard him punching the girl. Her supposed reaction morphed too, from not saying anything because she believed Redfern had only smacked the girl to avoiding confrontation because she was afraid of him, and finally claiming to have confronted him after all. Quote, "I said to him, she's 3, what has she done to be hit? It was, she's been naughty. It was a warning sign at the time, but I did not think anything of it. I didn't think she would lose her life, basically. I could have done more. I could have spoken to someone about what he was doing. I was in love with him, and I did not know how to leave him." After the yelling and whatever followed, Redfern was suddenly in a hurry to leave. So said Matthew Alport. However, the mother's testimony rings hollow when there's proof of she and her boyfriend's mutual disdain for and abuse of her daughter. The pair exchanged messages during the night which briefly touched on the child's apparent discomfort, before turning to the subject of how pleasant the visit had been. Kaylee's autopsy revealed that she died at around midnight. At 12:19 AM, Nicole Priest uploaded a selfie to Snapchat showing off her love bites. She captioned it, quote, "I love my babies so much." When the ambulance crew arrived around 11 hours later, they found Kaylee Jade Priest dead on the floor of a barely furnished bedroom, one with unsuitable bedding and no light bulb. Before phoning an ambulance, Nikki Priest had called Redfern. She denied that this was to ask him what to do. "I did not tell him she was dead. I wanted to know what he had done and the reasons." Once Redfern was in police custody, an interviewing officer asked him how the child's death had affected him. His response, "It's not my child, it's not really affected me." But when all was said and done, it affected him to the tune of 14 years in prison for manslaughter, and Nicole Priest was sentenced to 15 years for manslaughter, and 3 years to be served concurrently for child cruelty, with her failure as a mother becoming her legacy. While a legacy rightfully tarnished can be considered justice, whether truth or lies, mere accusations alone can have dire consequences. The internet hive mind is fickle, so it only takes a spark to set a reputation ablaze, and our final subject today found himself at the mercy of the mob. But did reality justify the rage? Well, allow us to introduce you to Vincent Plici, aka Inquisitor Ghost. Vincent, or Inquisitor as he's better known, was a Call of Duty cosplayer who made his name on TikTok. He had a particular affinity for Ghost, the grizzled Brit whose iconic skull mask has stuck in the minds of players around the world. Naturally, given his icon status, he's a popular choice for cosplayers, but Vincent's love of another monolithic franchise led him to put his own twist on the formula. While it was the look that grabbed attention, for many of his fans, it was his sense of humour and enduring excitement for his passions that made them feel a connection to him. His appeal only seemed to broaden when he began speaking in his videos.
Okay, yes, I talk. I do have the ability to talk. So we need backup here. Move your ass in the front. Hey, sup, forget about it.
Though he adopted a pretty convincing British accent so as to maintain the illusion, he was actually from Italy.
Honestly, I don't really know what you're talking about. Onestamente mi piacciono I tortellini. Soprattutto piacciono a soppa. Italia.
And while Italy was his home, it was on TikTok under the username Inquisitor3 that he found a community who appreciated his costume antics. As the love for him grew, he'd post more frequently and stream here and there for his viewers. The carefree attitude that coloured much of his edited content seemed to carry over to his lives.
Okay. It's fine. It's fine. Nobody's perfect, you know? Nobody's perfect.
I don't like
We are cool.
I enjoy the world build. I enjoy the looks, but I don't enjoy the movie. I feel they're so boring. So I only watched like 20 minutes of one. I'm sorry.
And before long, he was a pillar of his niche community. That changed in an instant when in September of 2023, troubling accusations came to light. Screenshots began to circulate in a Discord server frequented by many Call of Duty cosplayers. These screenshots showed a girl named Dylan, most often referred to as AJ, speaking to Vincent. AJ, who was 17 at the time and changed her username as often as her socks, alleged that these images were proof of predatory behavior directed towards her and a 15-year-old called Diana. A different screenshot from around the same time, in which Inquisitor states he's unsure of her age and won't get involved, was the first clue that something might be wrong here. For context, Vincent was 23, and the age of consent in Italy is 14, though there are wrinkles in the law dictated by the age gap and whether or not there's a power imbalance in the relationship. In short though, it would have actually been legal under local laws, but the cosplayer chose not to engage. Understandably, the Discord group felt the need to take the situation seriously, so someone from the mod team contacted Inquisitor to discuss the matter. He'd heard someone was trying to spread the rumor, but didn't seem to know who until he saw the alleged proof for himself. Having seen the shots, he explained that AJ was his former editor, and he'd used the type of language he did because he was grateful for all the work she'd been doing. Inquisitor put forth a theory that she was unfairly targeting him because they'd stopped speaking. The moderator agreed that the screenshots seemed out of context, and mentioned that AJ, on this occasion going by the username Tequila, had immediately pointed the finger at another cosplayer who defended Vincent. The mod felt this dented her credibility. While he did make no attempt to hide his memeish adoration of goth girls and had a primarily female audience, there appears to have been no indication Vincent behaved inappropriately towards any of his female contacts. On the contrary, Vincent appeared to be rather shy when subject to direct female attention.
Scotland.
Yeah.
From England. That's cool. That's cool. Alright, take this out. Now let's put all the blade in and replace it.
Oh, I so didn't hear it as a voice. I'm too dirty-minded.
You're too dirty-minded. Alright.
I just heard I'm gonna put this big, and then I didn't hear the last. Like,
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm not decent. You can't take me fine dining. Thank you, Bunsel.
Oh lord. No, I'm trying to do. Somebody suggested to make a lot of videos to post throughout the week, so I won't be like fucking making my eyes all the nights black, and because I work throughout the day and I do Inquisitor stuff after. As soon as I come back home, I do all this stuff, so I don't really have a lot of time for me lately.
AJ's defamatory remarks were further diminished when, as the rumors were swirling, she DM'd Vincent again. These messages went ignored, so further contact was attempted. In this instance, AJ overtly stated that she wasn't a minor. This second effort led to a confrontation, in which AJ denied starting the rumor before being immediately disproven, then attempting to pass the blame. This could and should have been the end of it, but sadly things would only get worse from here. On September 27, 2023, Inquisitor Ghost made what would be his final TikTok post, soon after his account disappeared. In October, the rumors exploded, and a full-blown witch hunt began. A large contingent of the community Vincent loved ran with the claims without a beat of hesitation. This led some of his notable peers to adopt a vigilante mindset that was so edgy and self-important that secondhand embarrassment was a guarantee for all those who bore witness. Batman here is a TikToker who goes by the name Keegan's Mask. She leapt at the chance to weaponize her large audience. A second self-proclaimed Cape Crusader, Bravo07 aka Stephen Riley, was much the same.
Fandom is in shambles. Lately there's been a lot of drama about content creators being pedophiles, and now I'm gonna talk about Inquisitor Ghost. I've seen a lot of proof about this cosplayer, this content creator that always gave me the ick. He always seemed very over the top, so full of himself. He followed me around 3 weeks ago. I wasn't alive, and he kept complimenting me like, you're the best, you're great and everything, so I followed him back. If you are an adult, you don't flirt with a minor, especially if you have minors not interacting with you, because that's fucking pretty critical of you. I don't like the fact that I am associated with him just because I'm Italian and so is he. We don't know each other. We spoke once and he tried to get followers out of me because I have 300,000 followers. And that's a lot of followers for him. I am a good man. I have good morals. I do not talk with minors. And if I do talk with minors, it's to protect them, okay? That's what a grown man should do with a minor, especially a 15 years old child. It's a child, for God's sake.
On Monday, October 9, 2023, Vincent returned to TikTok and began an unsettling livestream. In spite of having zero idea what the purpose of the stream was, our wannabe crime fighters were quick to grab their pitchforks. For several hours the feed was silent, and all that could be seen was a window in the center of the shot. The vigilantes weren't buying it. After around 4 hours, the lengthy silence was broken. It takes several minutes for the man to make a hole in the window that's big enough to climb through. Once the man is able to get inside, we can hear him repeating Vincent's name and the sound of something being dragged off screen. In the background, a woman outside is on the line with the emergency services. The girl we'll hear interjecting throughout has received heavy criticism for her reactions. It should be noted that she'd only heard the unsubstantiated, often contradictory rumors about what was going on at the time. She offers some insight into the events that weren't saved by viewers.
Like, it was silent for apparently 2 hours. He was live and it was silent. I didn't even know that was a window. I thought that was I thought he was just chilling on a chair in the back.
Following a time jump in the surviving video, a second man in dark clothing is present. Following instructions given by the emergency worker on the line, he begins to attempt CPR. While mercifully Vincent isn't on camera, the panic of those who are is plain as day. Another comment from the girl reacting hints at the confusion among viewers.
All of a sudden, I thought that was a hallway, but it's a window. And all of a sudden I see him moving about. I'm like, oh, he's outside. What is he outside for? Next minute, he's smashing a window. His window, probably. And now there's women, like a girl, on a phone call with someone and talking to him. So maybe that's a neighbor? This is juicy. What's going on?
At this point, she's under the impression that Vincent had been the one who broke the window. She also relays some of the misinformation during the rounds while things were still unfolding.
Because I thought he was sat there on the chair. And obviously he was, because it was a window then, obviously, right? And someone said he sliced his throat. Like he's killed himself. And I'm like, that's not true, obviously. Like, that is so 2014, okay? And next minute he's moving his chair around. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then the window smashed. And he climbs through it. I'm so confused right now.
This is where the video ends. The movement of the chair was the clearest hint of the tragedy. Vincent had taken his own life. According to Italian media, a note was found nearby. It read, "I can't take it anymore. I'm having too hard a time." Unbeknownst to his 100,000 followers and fellow cosplayers, many of whom had turned against him, Vincent had been in a fragile state and had been seeing a therapist. While uncertainty remained, the wannabe crime fighters broke out the mental gymnastics. Bravo 07, who claimed to have suspected Inquisitor before doing so became a bandwagon to jump on, adopted the same know-it-all attitude again.
I'm just gonna be quick with this one because I just came from the live of Inquisitor, and I have to say that it was very dramatic. It was creepy, and apparently he offed himself, but I am here to tell you that he probably just planned it out. I am an EMT, so the points that I make are actually true. I'm Italian, so is he, so I know what I'm talking about. The EMTs had no uniform. They had no gloves, they had no equipment, and if you were called for a suicide, firemen, police, and ambulance pulls up. All three of them. There was none. There was nothing. There was no one. There was a phone. They made eye contact with the phone that was doing a live stream around 4 to 5 times. They moved it around, and they didn't stop the live. That doesn't make any sense to me. I know I cannot say that for sure, but feeling as it is, I really feel like he planned it out for clout, because it doesn't look fine to me. It does not make sense. And how did the neighbors have the CPR thing? Someone mentioned that they used the Lucas device to perform CPR on him. How did they know he wasn't breathing? That was weird.
It resulted in a failure as spectacular as it was maddening. As an Italian and an EMT who knew what he was talking about, he should have known that trained responders don't require over-the-phone instructions to perform CPR. The moment it became clear that the stream was no publicity stunt, the new fad became backtracking and posting defensive apologies.
I want to start off with an apology, a spoken one. I know saying sorry for what I've done and for what I got myself into will not bring him back, and that I acknowledge it. I fully take the responsibility that my videos played a big part in his departure. With the proof that I was sent by these girls, I fully believed that whatever was going on was relatively true. But it's still not an excuse, because it's not the right way to do things.
Those who joined in on the dogpiling were subject to a great deal of anger, though not nearly as much as Vincent's accusers. That was with good reason. In the tragic aftermath, damning evidence surfaced, and not only did it reiterate that AJ had lied about her age, it also proved that she was aware Inquisitor had explicitly told minors not to message him. The boyfriend she'd outed as her co-conspirator went by Tito, though his real name is Israel. In the messages exchanged between the two, he gave his girlfriend, who was desperate to use his following to ruin Vincent's life, permission to flirt in order to entrap him. As shown earlier, this completely failed. He tried to use his initial suggestion that AJ dropped the whole thing to diminish his responsibility, but that didn't change the fact that he'd willfully spread the harmful untruths while he knew AJ had been lying. Worse yet, word began circulating that Tito was himself an adult in his 20s. The supposed hypocrisy caused outrage. He'd vehemently stated that this was false.
Like, again, everything that happened was completely wrong. And now, since I'm getting a lot of hate, people are talking about my age and her age and spreading different rumors, like I'm 20 years old and she's 15, which is not true. So just to get one thing clear, I just turned 18 2 months ago, and she will be 17 for another 7 months, I believe. So I am not a pedo trying to take down a pedo. I never try to take anybody down.
However, while we can't 100% confirm as such, the evidence we've seen from all sources besides accusers seems to indicate that Tuto was being dishonest here. His admission to receiving illegal child imagery is problematic either way. He'd apologize, attempt to garner sympathy, and paint himself as a choir boy in public.
She is starving herself, and she is getting non-stop DMs telling her she should end it, and I am getting DMs as well telling her she should rot in hell, and a lot more DMs calling her names, and I really just am asking you guys to stop. It's because it's really pressuring her to unalive herself. And I know that's very similar of what happened to the Inquisitor, but there is really no need for revenge. And
his actions in private told a very different story. AJ was similarly two-faced, going out of her way to feign remorse, while victim blaming and proving herself happy to laugh at Vincent behind closed doors. With all that said, it seems apparent to us that the people who deliberately drove him to despair feel little if any guilt for their role in his death. Vincent's father was the one who confirmed his passing to the world, having created a TikTok account to honor his son. While he may be a footnote in the eyes of those who attacked him at his lowest, he is dearly missed by his friends, his family, and his beloved cat Loki. As Inquisitor Ghost, he lives on through a legion of fans who will never forget him.
What are you doing there? Come here. It's alright. Everything will be better. Trust me. I believe in you, Mike. I believe in you.